Hi there. In this video, we will look at explaining data lake in simple layman terms. I have Vishal with me, who has consolidated a list of questions that most of you have regarding a data lake. So let's look at the list of questions. So Vishal, welcome to the session. Can you please list some of these questions that regarding a data lake?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Bindu. All right. Uh, I have some of the frequently asked questions. Question number one, what is data lake? And can you please explain in simple terms? Question number two, what are the benefits of data lake and why it is so important now? Question number three, is the data lake related to big data and data warehouse?
Sure, Vishal. Yeah, thanks for consolidating this question. So the questions that you said are very frequent. This is especially true for those who are completely new to the field of data lake or even data warehouse, right? And there is often so many definitions that are going around on what exactly is a data lake. So in this video, what I will do is I'll give a very simple definition of what is a data lake and what are the benefits. And of course, I'll answer all the three questions that you mentioned. All right. So with that being said, let me move through the slides. Let's first look at the definition of a data lake. A data lake is a large repository of all enterprise data, right? The very word lake refers to the capability of the solution for handling a large data volume, right? And the reason the data lake is designed is it serves to be a one-stop shop for all data needs of an organization, right? This is the definition of a data lake, or this is the expectation from a data lake solution. Okay, so Vishal, did I answer your first question on what is a data lake?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, can you please repeat the second question that you had?
Yeah. So my second question was, what are the benefits of data lake and why is it so important nowadays?
Sure. All right. So that's an excellent question. Let me tell you this. Data lake is actually not a new concept. It is an old concept. However, it was very difficult to implement before. Now it has become very easier, right? So we'll see the reasons for that. So let's see what are the benefits of a data lake, right? Um, what happens without a data lake. So in the slide, what you're seeing right now is a simple diagram that may exist in any enterprise. These days, an enterprise needs to access data from multiple systems. And let's call these systems as upstream systems. So in any typical organization, let's say there is a need to fetch data from the Salesforce, right, which is a CRM. There may be a need to get the point of sale data from Facebook, which is a third party system, from a relational database such as MySQL or maybe even cloud storage, right? So an organization needs to access all this information, and there is not one application that needs this data in an organization. Often there are multiple applications. So here you'll see that there may be a data mart that may request data from all these systems to do data analysis or business intelligence, right? Similarly, there may be another application that may want to do some sort of a forecasting, right? So you often have a lot of applications that need to get the data from the upstream systems. So as a organization grows, as their data needs changes, what you will notice is that multiple downstream systems start connecting to all the upstream systems. The thing to observe here is the multiple endpoints, right? You see, there are multiple downstream systems connecting to the same upstream system. So often the same interface needs to be used. There are parallel calls or parallel fetches being made to all the upstream systems. And take an example of this data mart. A data mart or a data warehouse, when it connects to Salesforce, probably it's using an API call. If it's from a point of sale, maybe the data is being dumped in a CSV file or a text file. If it's Facebook, again, it may be an API, or it could be a direct database call. The point here is every upstream system will have a different kind of an interface. It will have a different kind of protocol that needs to be used to fetch the data. Now, the data mart team goes through all this effort, setting up the data pipeline, and a few months down the line, there is another application, let's say forecasting, which has to repeat those exact same steps. Right? They have to connect to the same systems, and often they have to repeat the exact same steps of connecting to the system and getting the data. Right? So with a data lake, a lot of these things can be simplified. So let's see what happens to this architecture diagram with a data lake. Okay. And one other thing I missed to tell you is that over time, many applications can be sourcing data from a single upstream system. And as you can see, Facebook data, it's very rich data, right? A lot of applications would need this kind of a data. So over time, a lot of applications in the same organization start creating their own parallel threads that connect to Facebook and fetch the data. Right? So how can we simplify this? How can we reduce this clutter with the help of a data lake? Now look at this diagram. Right? Here we have a diagram that looks sort of a lake, right, which is a water body, and that's what it is. The word data lake came into being because that platform is supposed to store massive amounts of data. So how is it useful here? You can immediately see the benefits, which is there is a single endpoint from each of the upstream systems terminating into the data lake. So what that means is if we need data from Salesforce, we get it once and only once, that is stored within the data lake. The same applies for all the other systems, Facebook, point of sale. Anytime we need data, the data does not directly flow to the downstream system. Instead, the data first is stored in the data lake. So what are the benefits of this? One obvious benefit is that now a downstream system no longer has to connect to multiple upstream systems. Instead, if they connect to data lake, all the data they need is in one platform. Right? We will talk more about the platform in the next slide, but just think of data lake as one huge system. It can be a database or it can be a big data solution. We'll get to that later. Right? So data lake as a platform stores massive amount of data, and all the upstream systems will store their data once, and the data stored once can be accessed a many number of times by all the downstream systems. So this greatly simplifies, right, the whole effort of data fetching. Now any downstream application, right, even those systems that are created in the future, they no longer have to access these individual systems. They can go to one system, which is the data lake, that will have all the data that they need from across the enterprise and sometimes even from outside the enterprise, such as Facebook data. And the other benefit is that of a power user. Right? These power users are a new breed of users. They use information and they often uh, need data from many systems. And one thing that was sort of acting as a barrier for them was to interface with these multiple applications. They often don't have the necessary technical skills in order to connect to these multiple systems, through their different interfaces, such as API, database calls, HTTP, FTP, you name it, right? So now, with all the data being available in one platform, one system, it greatly enables power users. They can make use of this data to uh, derive insights from the data. Okay. All right. So these are the benefits of a data lake. And Vivek, Vishal, I believe your question was also, why is it so important now? Right. It is important because um, these days an enterprise is dependent not only on the internal data but on the external data as well. right? Often a retail company such as which is selling products need to understand the customers' sentiments, right? How is their brand doing in the market, right? How do people feel about it? So they often need to mine these massive amounts of data coming from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and other social websites, right? So that's why they need a data lake now, more than ever. And why is it important now? Why are they building data lake now, not before? The answer is data lake is not a new concept. People have always been trying to build a data lake, but it was a very difficult not just difficult but very costly to maintain as well, right? Very expensive to run a data lake operation, because prior to Hadoop and big data solution, the only thing we had is relational databases. Relational databases are very expensive to scale, and they also have a limit in terms of performance. You can only scale them to a certain extent. After that, you lose the scalability, right? And it is very, very expensive to be able to get those licenses. Now, thanks to the big data platform, thanks to the Hadoop ecosystem, it is not so expensive now. Any organization, no matter the scale of the organization, can easily build a data lake on a set of Hadoop clusters. Okay, so that is why now Hadoop, the whole data lake concept is on the increase again. Every organization realize the benefit of a data lake, and thanks to Hadoop, with its low running cost, everybody's implementing a data lake. Okay, all right. So Vishal, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, Bindu, it is pretty clear now. Uh, I'll come to my next question. Is data lake related to big data and data warehouse?
Sure. Yeah. So that's a very frequently asked question again. Again, the term data lake, the definition of data lake often gets twisted within one organization, right? So one organization may call their data warehouse a data lake. Why? Because they look at data warehouse and they say that, okay, we are storing a lot of data here, so this is data lake. But that's not actually true, right? Let's look at those differences. But before that, let me just summarize the benefits of a data lake. So quick points. A data lake serves as a one-stop shop for all enterprise data. So you don't have to develop these different interfaces. Then you can reuse existing data pipelines for all the downstream applications. And it also enables cross-department data access for power users. All right. Now, to your question, is data lake the same as big data? Well, it's not. You see, big data is a platform. Hadoop is the best example. Big data is often categorized by the 4 V's. When I say V, I meant the alphabet V. So the first is volume, the second is velocity, the third is variety, and the fourth V is veracity. Okay, so any business problem that has these 4 V's in them, we say that it has a big data problem, and we come up with a big data solution. The most popular big data solution or big data platform in the market right now is Hadoop. Okay, Hadoop is the one that that is massively scalable and also has very low running cost. So big data, you see, is a platform, and a data lake is a solution. Data lake can be implemented on top of big data solution like Hadoop. Okay, so you can see the second point here. Big data platform like Hadoop is used to build a data lake. So uh, if we say data lake is the same as big data, it's not the right thing. Instead, we can say that data lake is a use case which can be realized using a big data platform like Hadoop. Okay, and then I believe your next question was, is data lake the same as data warehouse? The answer is no, absolutely not. Data warehouse refers to the tools and technologies specifically meant to measure the business, right? So some of you may know, may be familiar with the terms of dimensions and facts. So what are these? These are tables which are structured in a way as to measure the business performance. right? Whereas the data lake, we may not do any transformations. We just dump the data from the upstream systems into the downstream, into the data lake without doing any transformations. But in a dimension and fact, there is a lot of manipulation of the data that happens. We may consolidate tables, we may split tables, we may add derived columns and so on, right? So a data warehouse is a completely different solution again. It's the purpose of a data warehouse is very different from the purpose of a data lake. However, thanks to Hadoop, thanks to the big data platform, the same platform can be used to implement both your data lake and data warehouse. And uh, what happens over time is they say that in my organization, data warehouse is within the data lake, right? They may say that, okay, we have implemented the data warehouse and it is managed along with the data lake, right? So both of these entities sort of are placed or situated on the same big data platform. Okay. All right. So I believe I answered your third question as well. Now, a quick summary. Data lake is you can think of it as a large database or a data store, right? Now, I'm not going to the technical details of it because I want everybody watching this video, even non-technical people, to understand what a data lake is in simple terms. So I would refer to it as a large database or a data store that is used to store all enterprise data. It is usually built on a highly scalable platform like Hadoop, right? And the data lake has a low running costs compared to a relational or a MPP database, right? And the benefit is all data is accessible in a single repository and environment. So, Vishal, did I answer all your questions?
Yeah, perfectly, Bindu. Uh, it clarifying all these questions. Thank you very much, and all you are also explaining data lake in a very simple terms.
Sure. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you found this video useful, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
And we will be back with more videos on such useful topics. So stay tuned. Thank you.